if you at some point conflate the sensation of touch, feel, external objects, smells, things like that, with the sensations that are derived from internal emotions, that come from emotions, now you've conflated sensation with feeling.
Yes.
And now you think that feeling is sensation. Just like we say, you've done violence to me. This is violence. If you raise a person in that way where they can't decipher or distinguish physical sensation from the things that they feel from emotions, you could get stuck like that.
Yeah. That is something that actually harms thinking. That literally creates so much confusion that it's very challenging to start having any real discrimination. And that's a terrible place to leave anybody.
It's just that the way that it's not even, I don't think it's the way that humans are wired. The way that reality works, you got to do things to get the outcomes. And then so the way that we have to interact with the world gives us these senses of, I don't know, things like accomplishment or whatever it is, we have to do these activities to get the payoff. And then somehow we develop some kind of a, I don't know, chemical release because of these things. Like think about, I don't know, cleaning your room, doing something like cleaning your room, cleaning your house, or getting some feeling of accomplishment from something that doesn't give you an immediate payoff. And so this is like, well, we've developed this feeling just because we've done this thing. And this thing doesn't necessarily lead to a direct payoff right now. So this is really just a feeling. It's a feeling of accomplishment. Am I wrong or off track with this, or would you?
I mean, everybody has needs, and some of these needs are psychological. Some of these psychological needs like really involve a feeling of agency, where people can get the sense that what they're doing matters and is actively giving them an extra bandwidth or sense of safety that says, if I have this need, I can meet it, and therefore I don't have to worry about this anymore. And I think that's a helpful feeling of responsibility, safety, agency, whatever you want to call it. Like, those are things that I support people doing. It's always just sad to have people not recognize these things are a limit. There's no such thing as absolute agency. There's no such thing as having all the power in the world to do anything you feel like. I'm like, that's not what we're doing here. You're just finding something that you want to grow in and then slowly taking the next step to make sure that you can progress here, which is cool.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think the psychological needs development. And that's one of the things I like to just peel back the layers. And this is kind of a theory because I don't know that you can ever prove if this is right or wrong. Because people might say, oh yeah, we have psychological needs. But I would say that, no, we have physical needs that developed into psychological needs. That's how I would look at it.
Interesting. How do you separate the two? How do you know which one came first?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that I can prove this, right?
Okay, that's fair. So I'm just like, it's in the world of development. I would say that we start off as a mind in a body, and so they're both developing together. So I don't think the one can come before the other, but I do think one is dependent on the other. Like, you can have all the psychological needs you want, but if you don't eat, it doesn't matter. So I'm like, you really do have to get to that eating eventually first, and then we can talk about what's next. Once you're alive, then we can start talking about how bad you feel. We can talk about that later.
Yeah. So to me, that's an indicator, right? Even
right.
Feeling bad or feeling compassion, feeling empathy, these are secondary things. In my opinion, these are not primary. Babies don't pop out the may like people, but they might squish a person or squish a bee, or they can't squish a person, but you know what I'm saying? It's just, this is a development. This is, once again, it's a theory. I don't know how you prove this, but I have to operate on that theory, that understanding. I don't accept when I hear scientists, clinical people, whatever, psychologists, whatever, and they just think, oh, we have these psychological needs or desires prior to the physical needs. Like, that's what I mean about the whole feeling of accomplishment. Hey, I know that I need this thing. And as my brain is allowed to think longer and longer range, I know that this piece that I'm putting in place is in line with me reaping rewards over the long term. And now I have an emotion or satisfaction. I don't know what you would really call it, but not because I'm directly tying that to this. It's because I'm subconsciously tying that to this. I think that you got, like you said, you got to start with eating first. Like, oh, we need shelter. Oh man, it's cold. Oh, it's cold. This hurts. Oh, I don't like this. You know, that's to me where it starts. Right? Oh, we're walking on this ground and my feet hurt and they're cut up from these rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make it. It's not even shoes at first, right? It's just let me protect my feet.
Need to protect the core long enough to be able to keep the blood flowing. All right, the blood's flowing again. It's going out to my extremities. My extremities are really cold and painful. Let's find something to cover that now. Make sure that'll work in an environment that is harsh.
Yeah, so that, I mean, it's unfortunate to me that I don't think that I can actually prove that, but I guess this is going to have to be a belief that I have. And I could spar with anybody with these ideas, but I don't see how you get to psychological things before the physical things.
But if you're FI Dom, like you get how their experience overrides any other factors. They're like, the one data I have is how I feel. Therefore, even if I have to eat to survive, I felt hungry first, and therefore feelings are the only thing that's going on. You know what I'm saying? I can understand that perspective. I can see where they're coming from. And it's just the way they look at things is not geared toward data, geared toward external data. Like internal data is their priority, and therefore they are no longer going to, they're not often going to start with the idea of let's meet these external needs or needs from the external environment first.
But my perspective isn't in line with my perspective that I laid out in the book is that rational types are outgrowth of irrational types. To me, this is the same case that Rand laid out in The New Intellectual. Attila and the Witch Doctor was the original. Mm-hmm. Oh, then became the producer, the businessman and the intellectual. And that was an evolution. And theoretical as it may be, I don't see the case against it. And that's why I always look at these things in a directional way. That's why I never take rational and go backwards. I always take irrational and go forwards, if that makes any sense.
Sensing first and then using the sensations to build a rational argument.
Because where would a rational argument come from?
It's hard to it's hard to have a logical thought between things that don't exist yet. You have to have things to tie together.
Or unless you got collective ideas, unless you just operate on secondhand collective ideas, which that's where I think we are. You know, you just believe what people say. You know, you just operate on that. So I have to have conviction on that perspective. And I'm pretty sure that there are people who will argue me down about it. But once again, it's not something that we can really find out. I mean, people say, oh, we have neurons in our stomachs.
Too. And it's like, I have a brain down there. I'm like, sort of. We can define neural networks as like a loose kind of brain in there. I'm like, we're being really generous with this word, but okay. How does that, like, what relevant data does that provide us? Like, I hear you. You're saying there's a neural network down there. Like, yes. It's like, and therefore I have a gut feeling this is where it comes from. I'm like, do we have any data for that? Like, is any of that true? I mean, I hear you. It could have something in it. It could influence things. But when you have a gut feeling about the character of somebody, they put you at ease. You've made a value judgment. Is your gut doing that judgment? Like, is your actual stomach doing that? Or is it just supporting what you are coming up with, and your brain is making meaning of the sensations you've had and the different associations you make?
Association and emotion. I mean, I believe that that's emotion. And this is another case that I tried to make in the book. If you would accept my argument that everything originates with sensation, if you at some point conflate the sensation of touch, feel, external objects, smells, things like that, with the sensations that are derived from eternal emotions that come from emotions. Now you've conflated sensation with feeling.
Yes.
And now you think that feeling is sensation. Just like we say, you've done violence to me. This is violence. Once the person conflates and can't distinguish sensation from feeling or sensation from emotion, if you raise a person in that way where they can't decipher or distinguish physical sensation from the things that they feel from emotions, you could get stuck like that.
Yeah, that is something that actually harms thinking. That literally creates so much confusion that it's very challenging to start having any real discrimination. And that's a terrible place to leave anybody.
Yeah, because you're in fear. And I think they have some studies that...
Place to be. I'd be afraid too.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know, you almost had no choice but to be afraid.
Right? It's like, well, bad things could happen. When? To whom? I don't know. Oh, that seems like a really important thing to know. We should really down on that. That could be me or you at any point in time. Apparently, since we don't know. Let's know.
And to me, this directly relates to something that I've been hearing about. So at one point in time, I went to this humanist lunch, whatever. They do this hour or some get together around there, humanism. And I was having a conversation with this guy, and he started talking about, they did this study during COVID where they were trying to figure out, why are people going to the market and just buying all of this toilet paper, right? And from what he's saying is like, well, they did a study on some, I don't know if it was women or some woman or whatever. And it was just this woman, her fear was so high that she couldn't think of anything but to go buy toilet paper. Like her brain basically shut down and just was like, I just need this toilet paper, right? And that kind of relates to this. And I'm also listening to this book from Al Gore called The Age of Loss of Reason or something like that. I'm a little frustrated with it, but he kind of brings up the assault on reason. He kind of brings up the same arguments. It's just like the assault on reason. He brings up the same arguments. Like, man, when you stoke fear, and I guess this is mostly aimed at G.W. Bush, when he was saying like he was stoking fear in people and he's trying to resurrect it, put a different preface on the front, and kind of relates it to Trump, I think. And it's like, oh man, when politicians stoke fear, then we can't use our brain and our reason is gone. Our capacity for reason is diminished. And so that's why we don't want to operate on fear, which is totally disingenuous, because it's like you all people want to operate on fear too. So it's just, let's not play this game, man.
How can you believe they would do that? That's crazy. Didn't you just do that?
Oh boy. But yeah, right. That's the politics game in America.
It really is.
So I mean, so I guess I could roll to that point because it's kind of got me frustrated. But once again, you conflate inner sensation with outer sensation and you get a bad situation.
Yeah. If you introduce that level of overgeneralization to where you think that the things you feel and the things you value judgment feel, meaning the things you experience, are one and the same. If you're like, well, I touched the stove and it was hot and I saw this person and I felt bad inside, and therefore these are just natural things that occur in the world and I have no control over them. I'm like, you've now advocated the position of being in control of your life. You've now advocated the position of being human to a large extent. And that is scary enough to say, maybe there are some, when you lose agency like that so quickly, maybe there's something going on that is wrong, that is a mistake, that is something you want to fix because of your own desire to be healthy or at least involved in your own life.
I mean, so I want to say yes, right? But I always default to the position that when we talk about thinking in that manner or agency in that manner, that is a development. I always want to remember that, hey, you got to get there. Yes. It's not like we're born and we would automatically get there even if we were left in the middle of the woods or something like. No.
How that works.
Yeah, these are societal developments. Because fear is a totally natural feeling to have.
Right.
Right.
There are some things you should be afraid of.
Exactly. And then I do believe that fear will inhibit your ability to think. Like when you can't figure out, oh man, I got my rent paid and my bills are done and I know I can eat today. You can't think further than that. Like, man, we don't have any food. It's cold. I got no shelter. Don't talk to me about tomorrow. Don't talk to me about next week. I don't want to hear nothing about that stuff. You know? So it's got that. And that's what I mean about societal developments. Oh, we can trade. Oh, I can work and get money and liquid capital, not capital, but, income, funds, money, trade. We've set up a society where we can kind of like fend off the people who would want to do bad. Well, hopefully fend off the people who want to do bad things to us and take our stuff. Oh, okay. So now my mind can relax a bit. Or now I can strategize about it some other time. Or I can sit back and just chill and think about maybe 10 years or 5 years down the line. I've afforded myself that much space. Then I understand it. Yeah, but base human base case. Nah, man, I guess what we used to call it on guts. We guts out here, man.
It's true. That's a whole different world and a whole different approach. So yeah, it's no joke. You can't just wing it all the time and be surprised how things are going. You have to actually try a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you need help too, though.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing when you actually raise people.
Exactly, man. And that's one of the things that irritate me about where we are and where we're going. It's just, you're not helping these people get to the next level. We're losing generations of people because we just pretend like, oh yeah, all of these things, this is the given. You know what I'm saying? Civilized is the given.
I know it. Therefore, everyone knows it. I mean, what else would we need? Like everything. You would need all of the things are what we needed. The entire foundation is necessary. Like, well, I have a foundation. What's their problem? They're new. They literally have never done this.
Exactly, man. And it's unfortunate, man, because I'm out of focus. It's unfortunate because if you care about people, you don't want to see them in a bad situation. And you don't want to hear them complain about being in this bad situation with nobody the people who care about them always complain about them being in a bad situation, but you didn't do anything to help them not be in a bad situation.
Exactly. Harm them.
It's crazy. So that's what frustrates me about that piece. And they think, and so basically you just want to deplete all of society to throw resources at this problem, which you really have no sense. You have no idea how to effectively treat this societal, I guess you can call it societal issue. These shortcomings in, I don't know. I don't want to say that because I have to make an assumption when I'm saying this if I'm saying it, because some people might say it's not a societal issue. I'm all right.
There's an exception over here, and I don't feel that bad about it. So clearly, it must be fine. Or no, it's not how that works at all.
Yeah, but that's the crazy piece because, and that's why you gotta. Oh man, that's why you, in my opinion, you have to ignore some people sometimes because they have no idea how to fix anything, but they always want to give their 2 cents on stuff. And it's like, man,
dude,
shut up.
Fixing things. Like, I want attention. Look at me. I say things. Nothing you say is relevant. I say things. All right. I see what we're doing here. Okay.
You don't care about these people. I genuinely care about them. And you have nothing to offer them except for guilting me into helping them for you.
Right. Your strong feelings don't defend you the things you say you care about. Isn't helping them. I can't feed them your strong feelings. I need you to go all the way off like that stuff. Oh,
yeah. I'm trying to find this piece real quick because I think it is relevant. Oh man, where is it? Sometimes I feel like I already went through these things and I'm repeating, but I'm not repeating, and I want to go through what I already wrote to see how it lines up. So it's just a couple paragraphs. The subheader is fostering rational individuality through conceptual education. It says any formal education that does not prioritize the development of a child's conceptual capacity amounts to indoctrination. So it's really kind of indoctrination in a bit, as it aims to instill the child with collective values instead of facilitating their ability to generate self-determined values. This indoctrination comprises the individual's lifelong ability to separate thinking from feeling by blurring the distinction between sensations, which are immediate responses to physical stimuli, and emotions, which are complex reactions arising from cognitive processes and interpretation. So I don't think I need to really read the second paragraph, but that's what I was saying.